Thank you very much. I always loved that man from the future. Funny story, actually, I got that moniker by wearing Google Glass for a year in Canada. I was sitting in a coffee shop in Tim Hortons, and a journalist saw me and said, "Man from the future has Tim Hortons." And so that's actually where it came from, and it sticks. I've been given the honor to do closing remarks. I feel the pressure to really sum up this fantastic experience. And so what I've done is I put together a talk that I hope really hits home how you are being upgraded with this next wave of computing, which is spatial computing. But before I begin, I just want to make sure we give a round of applause for the organizers for this event. So please put your hands together for them. So I still remember the sound in the basement in my parents' house in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, where I'm from. And it sounded as though the phone line was being tortured to do something it originally was not meant to do. And of course, this was the early 90s. And what I'm talking about is dial-up internet. And you probably all in the audience have been spared to not hear that. So I think that's a win for you. But at the time, this was the sound of the future. It was the sound of the next wave of computing. And you've been here all day hearing from some amazing speakers. And I'm sure by the end of today, you're now hearing that sound. It's the sound of today's next wave of computing, which is spatial computing. And with every wave of computing comes with it a wide sweeping change to who we are as humans. And spatial computing will be no different. Spatial computing, it promises to reacquaint us with presence, and it will challenge us to rethink reality. It will redefine consumption and engagement, and it will reimagine work and what it means to create. And, we spend a lot of time as 3D creatures living in this 3D world, but yet the majority of our experience with the digital world is flat. It's 2D. It's incredible. It's a lot of time. And as powerful as computing is, it exists behind a pane of glass, that vast digital world that we get a lot of benefit from. We have to access it through smartphones or monitors or laptops. And that means that it creates a separation gap between us and technology. And that gap poses a lot of challenges. The first thing that it does is it means that computing really doesn't understand what's happening here in the physical world unless we're feeding it information. And I argue that that's the other job that we've been having on the regular, is we've been feeding the machine with social media posts and blogs and Wikipedia pages. Computing doesn't know what's happening here in our dimension unless we tell it. And because it's at the mercy of us providing information, guess what? We're not good at it. And why? Because we have other things to do. We have a life to live. And so it's missing gaps in the information that we're providing. And therefore, it lacks nuance and context that could really level up our digital experience. And because the digital experience is behind this pane of glass, guess what happens? We're forced to use artificial interactions. We have to use very unnatural things, a mouse, keyboard. We have to swipe, we have to tap on a pane of glass, and that's really cold, and it doesn't allow for a tactile feel, and it also doesn't allow for us to have an emotional connection to the digital experience. And I think most importantly, what happens with this separation gap is that it causes us to be very distracted. We cannot be in two places at the same time, despite the fact that we think we're good at multitasking. And right now, we're trying to keep our attention on the digital world while also still living in the physical world. And that is causing a lot of problems. But the good news is that this is all changing and it's happening now. And you're hearing that come together here at HarvardXR. Spatial computing blends the digital with the physical, and it's breaking down this barrier, and it's allowing for computing to break free from the pane of glass that it's been behind for many years. This will allow for computing to exist in the same dimension as us. We're going to be sharing the same space. And that enables technology to be able to understand, interact, and navigate that space. And this really allows for things quite literally, computing quite literally to be here in the physical space, such as robots that can walk amongst us. Or with the pane of glass now removed, you're now able to enter the virtual world using virtual reality headsets. Or you can now see the digital world now spill out from the screen thanks to the power of augmented reality. So this is a powerful paradigm shift. And really what's happening is that we're waking computers up. And we are granting computers with the gifts of presence and perception. And so from a presence perspective, we are now allowing our computers to be present in our physical space through sensors like microphones, cameras, LiDAR sensors. And this allows it to sense the world and collect information on its own accord. And that's great news for us because that means we're now off the hook. We don't need to feed the machine as much. And it also means that the computer is now going to be able to get much better information, filling in those gaps, which will allow for it to have that nuance, have that context. And we're going to benefit from that because these digital interactions are going to be much more meaningful, much more intentional, much more personal. But data alone is not what makes the magic of spatial computing. And so we need the layer of artificial intelligence and machine learning, these perceptual AI systems of computer vision models, semantic segmentation, object recognition, gesture recognition, and so on. They are really what change things from a computer just seeing to recognizing, and from a computer that's just hearing to understanding. And so these gifts of presence and perception are critical to this next wave of computing. As is, no surprise, 3D. I mean, it's called spatial computing, so you knew this was coming. It all starts with 3D, and it's important for simulated worlds to be created to do anything from training robots to creating augmented reality and virtual reality content. And these simulated worlds, well, they require a new way of thinking. Again, just think about how much time you spend in 2D as a 3D creature. It's mind-boggling. And so don't underestimate how hard it's going to be to start to change your thinking to be 3D. It's going to require new skill sets, and it's also going to require new development tools like game engines that can allow for you to create computer-generated environments that don't exist, or you can use new scanning technologies like Gaussian splatting, photogrammetry to create digital twins of our real world. With the pane of glass now removed, it means that we're no longer needing to use these artificial interactions. We can now resort to new spatial interactions. And what's great is that we're kind of used to them already because we use them today. Our hands, our eyes, our voice. These are the new interactions of this next wave of computing. Now, with every new wave of computing comes new hardware. And here at HarvardXR, you've been hearing a lot about different devices. I'm trying to paint a picture of the wider spatial computing umbrella. And so I'll sum up the hardware categories in two buckets. And the first bucket is physical AI. The second bucket is immersive interfaces. And so within physical AI, you have hardware that embodies AI. And these are robots, such as humanoid robots. I can't believe I'm talking about them. It's kind of an out-of-body experience, but they're here. We also have delivery robots, expected, and also drones and autonomous vehicles. On the immersive interface side, we have mixed reality headsets that can enable virtual and augmented reality experiences, augmented reality glasses, and we also have spatial displays. The hero device of today for us is our computer and our smartphone, probably more our smartphone. You can't do anything digitally today without those devices. In the era of spatial computing, these will eventually be replaced by wearable technology. And you should expect to wear a constellation of wearables in order to give computers more access to more of your senses. We don't have sensors, but they do. And this will make the experience much more immersive. But the hero wearable device is expected to be head-worn wearables. And of course, you're hearing about them all the time. There's many of them in the demo area. And right now in the consumer space, we're seeing two stories come together with head-worn wearables. The first is mixed reality devices or spatial computers, and the other are smart glasses, or maybe more particular, I would call them connected eyewear. And so the mixed reality devices, these spatial computers are, examples are Meta Quest 3, the Apple Vision Pro. They feel a little bit like early PC days, thinking back to my, 90s kid childhood memories, in that they are very powerful devices, but they're somewhat clunky. They're affordable, but expensive to some. And so we see maybe one per household if you can afford it. And they're not really expected to leave the house. So that sounds very much like how I would describe my early PC days. On the flip side, we have connected eyewear like Meta Ray-Ban glasses or video glasses from Xreal and Rokid. And these feel very much like feature phones in some ways, like flip phones, where they are portable, but they're not full computers in your hand quite yet. They do single tasks really well. Now, both of these categories will continue to evolve and grow in their capabilities, become more affordable, become more accessible, more wearable, and we'll get to that in just a bit. But as Ori Imbar showed in his fantastic presentation, we already have seen great adoption in both of those categories, with some analysts indicating that by 2028, XR shipments for headsets will be upwards over 30 million. So we have been going through, or together in this presentation, talking about the technology layers of this new stack for spatial computing. But the one most important thing to talk about that's integral to this system is you and the space that you're in. That is at the center. You are the input. Spatial computers need to understand the environment, that means the space and what's in it, which is you, who you're with, and what you're doing in order to derive value. You are now the interface. And when wearing your tech on your body becomes the controller. You control things with your hands and your eyes and your voice. You are also the agent. You have complete agency to chart your own course in virtual reality worlds. And you're the ones giving the commands and the directions to autonomous vehicles and to robots. But essentially, what this all boils down to is that you are now being upgraded. And again, just giving a nod to my good friend Ori Imbar, he would say that spatial computing gives you superpowers. And it does, because robots, they double your time. In virtual reality, you can fly and you can teleport. And with augmented reality, you can see through walls, or even have a sense of digital telepathy where you can know things about people without them even saying a word. This is like all real. Trust me, I'm the man from the future. That Tim Hortons said so. So spatial computing is going to change how we connect with each other. And so these gifts of presence and this gifts of presence and perception, they're not just for computers. And so with this pane of glass removed and the promise of us being heads up to see this blend of the digital and physical together in the same space, it means that I no longer have to be distracted between a digital moment and a physical moment. There is no digital moment. There is no physical moment. There's only an augmented moment. But this will allow for me to be much more present with the people and the things that are in this space. Or I can opt to go into a virtual reality simulation. And there, as you know, you have to be completely attentive. So still very present in the moment. This is very powerful, I believe. But some of the bonus upside of XR in particular, when it comes to presence, is that the ability for augmented reality and virtual reality to fold time and space. In that you're able to feel more tangibly present with people from around the world, or eventually to be able to feel physically present with people from the past, maybe in your family. From a perception perspective, augmented reality and virtual reality headsets, they work by editing reality. And this gives us the opportunity to take on new perspectives of the world. You may have heard that virtual reality is touted as an empathy machine, and it's because of just that. Because in a VR documentary, you can become the main character. In a game or in a social experience, you can be a unicorn, a rabbit, or whatever you want. You have very fluid identity. And so this allows for you, if you want, to use this as an opportunity to expand your horizon, to expand your mindset, to expand your compassion, to expand your empathy. Now, another thing I want to talk about here is that it's very interesting, the timing of the era of spatial computing, because it coincides with a cultural shift where we're entering the age of experience. A recent report indicated that 63% of Gen Z and 59% of millennials would rather spend money on travel and concerts and events over physical goods and saving for retirement. Why? Because they crave connection and they want to create memories. And what better timing for an experience medium of augmented reality and virtual reality to arrive on the scenes to give us all new things that we can do together, as well as to do things with people that we may never have met in our life because they're from different places on the planet. Spatial computing is also going to change how we shop and how we engage with products and brands. This is already happening in e-commerce, which has been a game changer in retail. We love e-commerce. It's very convenient. We have access to so much inventory, but we crave that physicality that we get in store to understand the sizing of a couch or what these shoes look like on our feet. Spatial computing delivers on that. With augmented reality, virtual try-on and try-out, you're able to, for example, see art on your wall. In the case of sachiart.com, that uses web-based augmented reality to let their shoppers see over 1 million works of art on their walls to increase the confidence in buying. And it's working. They reported that those that use the WebAR experience had 4 times more likelihood to purchase. On the flip side, malls still exist, stores still exist. That blending of the digital and physical also comes in handy here as well. And it really makes a destination that you've been time and time again, like a mall, something new every single time if you want. It's magical because augmented reality turns the ordinary into extraordinary. And so you can gamify the store. Lego did it. Lego did it with smartphone AR, where you could chase virtual ghosts around the store and as a scavenger hunt. And if you collected all the ghosts, you could play with their augmented reality Lego set. Products are coming to life because of augmented reality. Things that you've been staring at every day that have been in your life will take on new form. This is a good example of this is wine. The wine industry loves augmented reality. And so, we've seen a wine bottle on your table, but have you ever seen it talk? It can. If you have 19 Crimes wine, they have branded wine from Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart that when you use your smartphone and you have the bottles together, you can watch Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg have a conversation together as wine bottles. This is something you can do today. Or you can grab a bottle. By the way, I'm not recommending wine. I'm just using this as an example. You can grab a bottle of Chronic Cellars, which has a very cute little skeleton that you can scan to bring to life. It's enabled by Gen AI, and you can have an entire conversation with this miniature little skeleton right off the bottle that will give you recommendations of wine pairings as your own little sommelier. Finally, your relationship with brands are changing already with augmented reality. The thing with augmented reality is it's very personal. It's intrinsically personal. It needs your face or body or the space to work. And so when a brand uses augmented reality in its marketing campaign, you become a co-creator, a co-collaborator. And so this is changing the marketing funnel because you have a greater sense of agency and ownership. Whereas before you were being pushed through the funnel to purchase, now you're taking on the funnel as your own journey, and it is becoming much more sticky and increasing the chance of conversion. Avon's proof in that. They used augmented reality on their website for over 400 other products, and they reported that in doing so, they saw an increase in conversion of purchase by over 320%. I mean, come on, that's a great stat. Finally, spatial computing is going to change the way we work, whether it's ushering in more automation through robots, which may change our role to more of a controller or a collaborator or a coder, or through the proven demonstration of the power of virtual reality as a training tool or a design tool in automotive, sports, and fashion, to just name a few, or in the use of augmented reality glasses as assistive technology devices that give you as a worker superpowers so that you're more happy, more confident in your job, and it increases the efficacy and efficiency of what you do. Lowe's teamed up with NVIDIA and NVIDIA's Omniverse to create a digital twin of their stores. And then their salespeople wore magically 2 devices to be able to better visualize inventory, as just one example. So as the infamous saying goes, the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. And I'm sure you're feeling that here through all of the presentations that you saw. I'm not making a prediction, but I'm just drawing a line in the sand as an exercise for us just to imagine what it would feel like 10 years from now, which is 1 full decade into the era of spatial computing. Here's what we know. Right now, Figure AI and 1X are already getting ready for alpha tests of their humanoid robots in the homes of very few families. That's happening today. So you can imagine 10 years from now that we may have better access of humanoid robots in the mainstream. Those MR headsets that I talked about that are more like early PCs, if they continue on their journey, they'll eventually be laptops or laptop-like in nature, where they're much more powerful but still portable, where you're able to take them out and about and use them more on the regular for work and for school. And those feature phone connected eyewears, well, now they've become fully fledged computers and are either competing or have wholly removed the need for you to have a smartphone. The point really isn't when this is going to happen, but really understanding that along this journey, what the opportunities are. The opportunity is that as we see sensors become more ubiquitous, this means that computing gains those gifts of presence and perception. Therefore, existing applications like Netflix or Spotify or TikTok can make use of the nuance and context. Just imagine the leveling up of your existing applications when those applications better understand you in the space. But the bigger opportunity is really the fact that we now can have spatial solutions. And we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg here, and you're part of that. One great example I love is the ability to jump into virtual reality, head into a Gaussian splat to re-experience a memory. And there's a really good Black Mirror episode on that, by the way, called Eulogy. So with every new wave of computing, it comes with new opportunities for new leaders, new solutions. This is the opportunity for you all. This is the potential that you have sitting in your hand. You have the opportunity to shape this next wave of computing, whether it is to define new standards, to create new categories, to develop new killer apps that prove out the value of this next wave of computing. And so this next dimension, folks, it's already here. The question is, are you ready to step into it? Thank you. So I do have, I think, about like 20 books, and we were going to do Q&A, but we'll do Q&A for a couple. If you have a question, you'll get a book. And then, I don't know, we're going to do like an Oprah moment for the rest of them because we're not going to be able to get to all 22. I don't know, Jenny, do you have anything to say, or should we go right to questions? Okay. Yes, Manu.
Yeah, by your talks.
Oh, thank you.
To ask you, as a kind of little exercise, could you bring us to 2055 just for fun?
Oh, geez. I mean, again, that slide really wasn't meant to predict anything. But I think like we're on a journey. Well, I think what I have understood is that we're in a journey to integrate technology more into our reality and to ourselves. And so you're seeing that. And I think in some way that feels like really scary until you really know that you're carrying around a piece of glass like on the daily with you as if you want it to be part of you. And so we're going from smartphone to wearable technology, and then that wearable technology ... is like, we start to integrate it more into ourselves through like Neuralink like devices. So I think that could be a natural course. And I think what's really exciting for me personally, and why I get really passionate about augmented reality and virtual reality, is this ability to see the world through new eyes and new perspectives. So I'm really eager by that time to understand what we think of reality and what reality is. And I think we're playing with reality with these devices. And I didn't talk about this. We have a lot of responsibility in doing so, by the way. And so by 2055, if all the trains are on schedule, like, what is reality? I think that's the bigger question. I'm sure Charlie Booker from Black Mirror will do that in season 8.
Thank you. Any other question?
Oh, and if anybody is asking a question, come on up and get a book if you want one.
Hey.
Hi.
Yeah, you're very inspiring as always.
Oh, thanks.
Question. So obviously this extrapolation into 2035 is based on what we are seeing and what's happening. What's something that you would like to see more of, or you think that's not being done enough today, and that we need and should happen by then? And how would you paint a picture from rather a need point of view as opposed to what's happening and where we're going point of view?
Yeah, I love that question. I think we need to celebrate more the things that are happening today rather than constantly looking to the future. And I love what Ori was talking about like task-oriented devices. One thing I'd love for us to do is talk about mobile AR more and acknowledge it as like a success story, and the fact that augmented reality is actually here and we're using it on a regular basis. And so I think like if we as a community believe in this, I think we can take some time. I know we're all like really excited about those all day, everyday wearable glasses that we have in our minds, but there's a ton of success along the way that we can and are having. So that's one thing I'd love to see more of.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm in charge of the questions, or should I say the people? Okay, yes. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but yes.
So my question is,
yes. Yeah. You know what? That's great. I love that. Come on up. And thank you.
things happen when you ask for it. But thanks for the talk, Tom. I mean, earlier the keynote, Austin said that he's still excited for the ChatGPT moment, and you mentioned like the killer app moment. But like, I mean, I've been in XR for like since COVID, and I think we all in this space like have a sense of like we want that killer app. Like compared to like the computer, it's like the email. Email was the killer app of PC, but like, do you have giving your experience, do you have a sense of what that is, or do we even need the killer app? Because the use cases are so fragmented or vary, depends on, your field or whatever your needs is. So like, are we holding our breath for nothing, or like just, power forward? Yeah,
that's a big question. But I think you already answered how I would answer it, which is, I don't believe there's a killer app. I think there's killer apps depending on your user, right? As long as you're solving a really big problem for a user that's sticky, like that's really how we're going to like win over the use of these devices. For me personally, I love my Meta Ray-Ban glasses for two reasons. One, they're a pair of sunglasses and it's sunny outside. And the second is it's really great audio. And so like it becomes sticky that way. But you might not care about audio. You might not listen to audio. You might like taking pictures, and maybe that's why you like it. So I don't think we should hang our hat on a killer app. I think there are going to be many killer apps depending on your target audience. And I think that they're going to be different depending on the form factor as well. Yeah.
Hi, Tom. This is Bruce Hecht from Virtual Games.
Oh, hi.
I really like what you said about editing, like using this process to edit what you want to bring into reality or what you want to see. But I was curious to know also with these kinds of activities that we've heard, what are ways to do that in a collaborative way? What do you see in the future about how people will be able to co-create or co-exist in that edited world, and what could it mean for our shared future?
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer that. That's a big problem. If I had that, I'd be a good startup. So you're saying like, how can we edit together? Or you're saying like, what do we do when it's edited and then we're experiencing things together?
Well, both. I think edit together because, we're not just painting a picture, right?
Yeah.
We're actually creating a reality that doesn't yet exist until we bring it into being. But you can do that for yourself. You mentioned sort of the 2D screens. A lot of times it's just you and the screen.
Yeah.
And maybe there's someone at the other end, but in these kinds of shared reality worlds, it can be more of that physical, more spatial, more existing in physical space. What do you think?
I think that I would just look to what's happening in virtual worlds and in gaming right now as like some precursors. I think kids are already doing that in some ways with Roblox, for example, or Horizon Worlds. And so I think that's one of the upsides of these devices that allow us to edit reality, is that we can like create new worlds and new experiences together. And so I'd look to those first for some answers. Yes. Oh, lots of questions. I don't have all the answers, so just letting you know, but there's books.
But thank you so much, Tom, for your presentation. I really enjoy it. My question's on attention management. As XR becomes more integrated into our lives, how do you see it reshaping the way we manage attention and also deal with cognitive load. And could XR be designed to restore attention instead of fragmenting it?
I think so, and I think just to be fair, and I think I took a very optimistic approach to presence in this presentation. It's very it could be very certain that one of the outcomes of having augmented reality always on is that yes, you are here and I'm here and I look like I'm looking at you, but I'm really like looking at digital information. So I think it could be fair that attention issue, like it gets moved from one wave of computing to the next. But I think the fact that we're talking about it and we're so early on, my hope is that like we as a community know that that's something we don't want to bring over. And actually, I think that's like another thing to think about is, we've been really lucky, and I'm using lucky with quotations, and working in a sandbox for a long time with computing. And again, that behind that pane of glass, it's kind of like go time with wearable technology, where by unleashing computing into the real world, there's the things that we don't want to bring from the old box into the new. We should really pause and ask ourselves what those are and make sure we solve for them, or figure out a way to mitigate getting them into the next wave of computing, because they're just going to get more exponential. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think one last question, but lots of books. And I'm not going to pick. Jenny, do you want to pick for me?
Hey, Tom.
Okay, picked.
Jared Grogan, thank you so much. I think I really enjoyed what you said about the fold and kind of folding actually across time and distance. I think another dimension, and wanted to get your thoughts and sense, is actually language, and kind of normalizing for language in the same way that we can normalize for space and time. And wanted to get your sense kind of across the stack with the release of Llama 4, and how you see that integrating with the front end environment. And when you speak of kind of presencing and the computer waking up, that sense of the kind of agency or community of agents around any individual, and how those can interface with people across these distances of, spatial distances or linguistic distances.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I just can't help but think of this call I got from my dad when I wrote the book, and he was really excited that the book was all about augmented reality, but he said, Tom, like, it's AI. It's all about AI. Why isn't your book about AI? And then he said, but actually, I think your book is about AI, because augmented reality is going to give that AI a body and a face. And so he immediately got it. And I think that kind of maybe speaks a little bit to what you're talking about. An old partner of mine, Matt Meisnick's, always said that XR or AR, VR is more like the GUI of AI. And so I really liked that. It really resonated with me. And so you can imagine that right now, again, we're talking 2D with these these chatbots, but eventually they'll have some sort of form that will make it feel a little bit more natural and more friendly. Whether they're human or not, I don't know if we need to worry about that right now. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. I think I have to wrap up, but I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You too. Thanks ever.